Lessons for solopreneurs. That's the topic of today's show. This is Todd Toback, and I want to personally welcome you to the No Limits Real Estate Investing podcast. And whether you are scratching and clawing for that first paycheck in real estate, or you're trying to build your business to seven figures without your personal day-to-day involvement, this is the show for you. If you have not downloaded our script, this is the exact script, my gift to you, that I have used to train my own acquisition specialist in my own business. The script that we've used to lock up over 1,300 deals in and around our different markets around the country, and the script that I've trained thousands of the best investors across the country to use. And this is my gift to you. So go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script and download that tool today. So let's talk about the top lessons for you solopreneurs out there. And it's interesting because, there are a lot of people who listen to this podcast who want to scale, right? And there are way more people who are in this solopreneur level, right? Than there are people who are at the top. It's like any profession, right? There's a lot more people who are operating at an amateur level than those who are operating at the highest level. So this is actually going to talk to most of the people who listen to the podcast. I know that many of you are interested in scaling, and that's why you listen to me, but this can be a benefit for anyone, whether you have a big team or you're trying to get your team to be more effective, or your acquisition specialists are listening to this. They can really use this, because really a acquisition specialist within a company is a form of a solopreneur, but they have a team working with them. Now, you may be just you in your basement, right, trying to do your first deal. Maybe you're living in your mom's basement, or maybe you are living in your apartment and just scraping by. But I don't care where you're at in this business. Maybe you're doing great and you just want to make $1 million more than you're making now. We're going to talk about some lessons that you can use to explode your income, to become more effective, to have more free time, and really get to that next level, because I know where you have been. I used to be a solopreneur. I remember when I was working my job at Pfizer, I was selling Viagra, right? Erection pills. And I decided I had to get out. And I finally made the jump, and I was so excited. And of course, I had this euphoria, and I was doing deals. And all of a sudden, I was working, 60, 70, 80 hours a week when I was used to working 40 hours a week at my job. And so it seemed like I was now working twice as much and I was making about the same per hour as I was making at my job, except this time I was responsible for everything, and I had all the pressures, and I had the ups and downs of businesses, and I had expenses, and I'm like, ugh. And one day I was just lying in bed next to my wife. I was working for myself for about a year, again, for myself, with myself, totally in isolation. And I look over at my wife and I said, I don't want to go to work today. The problem was I was the boss, and I used the word work. Bad sign. All right. So let me give you some lessons for solopreneurs, because I eventually busted out of that and I built a business greater than my wildest dreams. And so my goal for you is to give you some tools if you are a solopreneur, and if you are thinking about staying a solopreneur for the next year. I'm going to give you some tools that you can use to make some more money, but also to start to bust out of that, where you can think about taking these baby steps to hiring that next team member. So the main story of me finally doing that. I made my first hire, and I was able to then get out of acquisitions, and that completely changed my business. But one of the things I've learned, especially the people on my team, I say there are only 3 ways to make more money. That's it. 3 ways. Number 1, you've got to increase your personal productivity, right? This means that you produce more, you close more, you call more, you text more, you email more, you build relationships more, you network more. And you can do that, right? And I recommend that you always do this. You start to cut things out of your life that bring no value to you, right? You can cut out social media. You can cut out, if you're a gamer, cut out gaming, right? That's a bad habit for young adults. You cut out, the too many sports. Maybe you cut out, late Friday and Saturday nights that you don't need, and start to drive them into your business. And I'm all for that, right? You eliminate distractions. Don't answer, phone calls during the day. They're not the right ones for business at that right time. And I highly recommend that. So what I'm going to recommend in that phase is that you learn how to focus on the most money-making activities. So if you are, supposed to be making phone calls from, let's say, 10 to 1, you shut off your personal cell phone. Let's say you're working on a dialer, right? And you're using batch dialer, by the way, which we highly recommend, right? You're cold calling and you are trying to generate leads every single day. That is the time to do that. No distractions, laser focused, headphone on, calling using batch dialer. By the way, if you don't know what batch dialer is a phenomenal tool that you can use to call sellers. Basically, you upload a list of motivated sellers, you skip trace it, you get the owner's information, you load it right into batch dialer, and literally this thing is like a machine gun to find motivated sellers. All right. You could talk to like 1,000 people an hour. It'll drop the voicemails for you. That's right. Pre-recorded voicemails. You can hit a button and it leaves a voicemail if it holds a voicemail. And it'll work through the list and give you all kinds of cool reports to let you know how efficient you can be. So my recommendation to you is, number one, block off that time. Number two, use the right tools. By the way, if you want to know more about batch dialer, go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/dialer. nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/dialer. There you'll get the best pricing. You'll get a discount, free trial, all that. Check it out. My gift to you. nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/dialer. Okay. So now that we're starting to become more effective with our time, right? We're eliminating things. We're spending more time on the phone. We're in front of sellers. We are, starting dissecting. There's going to come a diminishing point of returns when you cannot, get any more effective just you. So the second part of that is, well, okay, you can become more productive on your personal time, but now you've got to start to delegate to others, right? There's no way around it unless you want to hit this, a plateau, right? So you've got to delegate to others. And I've talked about that in the show, but today's show, I'm going to give you a little bit of taste of that, but just the overview of the lessons that you have to learn as a solopreneur. The third thing, though, is that you now have to get your money working for you. Okay, this is part of the long game. The short game, you're wholesaling real estate and you're flipping, you're making big checks, having fun, but now you've got to turn money into your slave, where that money you invest it becomes more money, and that money that you just made becomes more money, and that money that just became more money, becomes more money, right? Every single day. Boom, 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 boom. If you've never heard the analogy of the penny that doubles every day for 30 days versus $1 million, I think that if you had $1 million, or if you've doubled the penny every single day for 30 days, I think it's about $10 million, if I'm not mistaken. $10 million. Okay, so remember to invest your money. I'm going to talk about that a little bit on the rest of this podcast. All right, so remember, I've talked about you hitting a cap eventually once you're more effective, right? You're going to have to delegate, and it's okay if you're listening to this if you are a solopreneur. But remember, I want you to tell yourself this is a season. Solopreneurship is a season. You're bootstrapping your company. You're generating revenue, you're doing anything, you're building up your cash reserves, right? You're learning the business, you're learning how to become a leader. Hey, I think that's awesome. But remember, this is for a short time. Some people say, I just want to be a solopreneur. And I find, for me, there's been times where I've said that to myself, right? Before I made my first hire. I don't know, I don't want employees, or they're too much headache. And there's been times, by the way, when I've had a big business and I've sometimes said, I want to be a solopreneur because of fear or anxiety or a setback or something that's, happened, right? I don't say that much anymore because sometimes you hit a level which you'll never go back to. My mind's really stretched. And so my goal for you is to do that for yourself also, right? But remember, if you're going to build anything of substance, it takes teamwork, right? Teamwork makes the dream work. Okay. Very, very, very important. So kind of get past that fear. If you decide that, you want to be a solopreneur after analyzing, maybe for fear or anxiety, then okay, stay there. Right. But if you realize that it's become a fear, anxiety, let's start to take some small step. Okay. That's going to take you outside of your comfort zone. Okay. As you grow, you will make more money. Okay. This is awesome. Even if you're a solopreneur, you can do that, especially if you're doing giant deals. But I can tell you that there's no more fulfillment than having a team along the way. One of my acquisition specialists made $275,000 this year. Also bought a rental property, does some hard money lending. And he's like, Todd, you changed my life. right? Oh my gosh, I never would have done this without you. And I love that, right? They never would have done that if they weren't part of my world. And we would have never have done the deals in our company if it wasn't for them, right? It's just so much more fun, so much more fulfilling. And it's a business that you could actually sell one day. If you want out of business, you don't want to do this anymore, you could actually sell a business with team members, by the way. You can't do that if it's just you. Just another thought there, if you thought about maybe hiring employees versus not, okay? At the very least, by the way, if you are a solopreneur, I can tell you what, you need administrative help. There's no way around this. I don't even care if you're like, I don't want any employees. You at least need one, okay? You've got to hire a virtual assistant, someone to help with your marketing list and upload and to create a marketing calendar and to keep receipts and to get closing statements and all the things that you need to do to grow your business. You need some kind of administrative help. So even if you're scared, you can go on Upwork.com or you can go to No Limits Real Estate Investing /VA, where there's a VA service we recommend, and hire someone between $500 and $800 a month overseas if you don't have a budget for someone stateside. Okay, so there's absolutely no excuse. And by the way, you could hire someone great stateside for $20-25 an hour if and that's on the high side. I'm in California, right? And you could hire someone in the Philippines for between 4 and 8, right? Depending on their skill level. Okay, next. So once you have some administrative stuff, and by the way, your life is going to change, right? You're going to start to see your deal flow go up, your stress go down. You're going to start to think bigger, be bigger, enjoy this business some more. All right, next. You need a lead manager. Okay, I did a podcast alone. It says how to make $1 million a year with just one employee. And that was basically talking about a lead manager. So if you're a solopreneur and then you get some administrative help, let's say you do get a virtual assistant from the Philippines. And you can go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com /VA. And you need someone to follow up on all of your older or cold leads so that you could just focus on the hot and smoking leads. You got to remember that if you're in this business, at a minimum, you're looking to make $500 an hour at a minimum. So anytime you're doing an activity that should take, $5, $10, $15, $20 an activity, you should be like, oh my gosh, I'm literally throwing cash in the trash. I'm literally pissing away money every single time I'm talking to a bunch of cold leads, right? And I'm not talking to warm leads, right? Every time that you're dealing with a bookkeeping issue or every time you're filing a closing statement, you should not be doing that. Okay, so this is where the teamwork makes the dream work. And I know this is lessons for a solopreneur because I could tell you I learned this the hard way, right? I used to do this administrative stuff. I used to, do my own filing. I used to deal with the postcards and looking at the proofs and thinking that I had to control it all. And oh my gosh, what a mess, right? I mean, I just literally running on a treadmill. It's like one of my mentors, Dan Sullivan, said that once you're operating in your highest and best use, right, your unique ability, that you go from seeing the world from black and white to Technicolor, right? And that's like, boom, imagine that difference, all right? So if you want to know more about a lead manager, you can go and listen to that podcast, and that's how to make $1 million a year with one employee. Now, that next step you may want to think about as a solopreneur is if at any point you think that you don't want to go on appointments anymore or you're getting lazy, it's probably time to hire an acquisition specialist and know that you can't do it on your own. Remember that you sabotaging your business is far more likely than an acquisition specialist coming into your business and stealing your leads or stealing your idea or competing with you. I look at myself as my own worst enemy or my best friend. And so I'm going to bet on myself every single time by bringing other people inside my organization who can replicate me so that I can do my highest and best work. For you, I'm going to recommend the same thing. Your best work, if you're listening on this podcast, is not filing. It's not uploading lists. It's not going back and forth with your mailing company. It's not calling freezing cold leads who do not want to do business with you. Your highest and best use is in front of a motivated seller, closing deals that are going to generate $50,000 and $100,000. And if you are at that phase where you're ready to hire an acquisition specialist, now your new best thing is to get them to perform to close deals at $50,000 or $100,000 right? Think about that. You've got to elevate, 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 bury the old you so the new one can grow. Okay, now, I know a little out of order here, but I'm really passionate about this stuff. So I kept adding stuff during the show. Start investing your money from day one, okay? Solopreneurs out there, I don't care whether you are trying to make your first $10,000. You need to be investing at least 10% of your income into something that's going to grow. So whether that is the S&P 500, and by the way, if you don't know what that is basically an index fund for the 500 largest companies in the US, right? And over time, that has returned about 10%. You can check more about that at Vanguard.com. By the way, not a financial advisor. Got to do that disclaimer. You could lose money doing that, but just take a look at what it's done over the last 100 years, and you can decide whether or not to put your money in there. Funny story. My wife, first year we got married, she was 21, and she decided that she was going to put 50% of her salary into the S&P 500 the 1 year that she was going to work. We knew we were going to have kids right away. So she put her 50% of her salary in. I think she was making $28,000 a year. And so it was $14,000 at the end of the year she put in that stock market. So my wife now is 40. And now there is about $80,000 in that account, right? From that one little action that my wife took in the 1 year that she invested. Here's the beauty of this. It's not that she invested a tremendous amount of money. It's that she started very, very, very early and put that money in right away. So if you're like, Todd, I'm not going to invest money until I have money. No, that's the wrong way. You get more money by investing early. So I don't care if it's 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300. I don't care what it is. Start investing today. Now, it doesn't have to be the Vanguard 500. It could be a piece of rental property, right? It could be, and by the way, for me, my two asset classes, which I love, right, are rental property and the S&P 500. By the way, the S&P 500, why I love it, it requires no management, no property managers to deal with, no taxes, no repairs, no insurance. And even if you have a property manager, you have to manage that property manager. And by the way, I love real estate. I love mobile home parks. So that's how I look at the long game. But again, if you can't afford a property right now, think about that S&P 500 because there's no excuse not to get started today. Get your money working. I talk a lot about habit. You got to think of yourself as an investor. That money moves, it compounds, it grows, it compounds, it grows. You add more money to it, it compounds, and that money grows, and that money grows, and then you add more money to it. And then before you know it, okay, you are going to have tens of millions of dollars in the bank from these small steps that I'm talking about today. All right. Next thing, and my last point is keep pushing yourself. I think it's great that you're out there hustling solopreneurs and you're doing big deals. We've talked about that. I'm going to reiterate what I've talked about. But remember, there are 3 ways to make money: increase your personal productivity, 2, delegate through others, 3, invest your own cash. Remember, though, this is only a season, okay? You cannot do this by yourself forever. Teamwork makes the dream work. You can't do anything special by yourself. So start, even if you can't do it today, start thinking about what that next step is, okay? It's so much more fun to bring people along the way, so much more fulfilling. You got to get administrative help. That's like day one, all right? So if you're totally broke today, you do your first deal. First thing I would do is get some administrative help. Go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/VA. Lead manager, okay? I would definitely look into that person if you have not hired an acquisition specialist already. So if you're going to be closing deals yourself, then get a lead manager, right? If you have an acquisition specialist already, you don't need to start off with a lead manager. After that, then get the lead manager. And again, if you feel like you don't want to go appointments anymore and you're fading and you're like, oh, I'm just tired of this, it's definitely time to hire an acquisition specialist. And also remember to invest your money from day one, a minimum of 10%. I recommend actually 40%. That'll really push yourself, get you really uncomfortable with the amount of money that you have in the bank. And so you'll go out and start producing. 2 books I'm going to recommend that I didn't mention earlier: Richest Man in Babylon, okay, Richest Man in Babylon, and The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Don't know the author of Richest Man in Babylon. Go check that out, though. You Google it, you'll find it. Keep pushing yourself, keep growing, bury the old you, all right? And you are going to see your life completely explode. Remember to go to nolimitrealestateinvesting.com/script to download the script that I've used to train all of my acquisition specialists and 1,000 investors across the country. And I will talk to you on the next episode.